Okay, so a couple weeks ago, I found this thing that I've been dying to tell you about, but it's been a while since we've recorded, so I haven't been able to yet.
Okay, all right.
And it's very small, but I hope it makes you as happy as it made me. There is a Dragon Ball Z PlayStation 2 game where one of the fighters is Chi-Chi.
Oh, really?
Like she's an actual character that you can select and play as inside the game.
Oh, shit. Okay. Are we talking like Chi-Chi Prime?
Yes, adult Chi-Chi, not World Tournament Dragon Ball Kid Chi-Chi.
Huh.
Like actual dressed as a mom Chi-Chi.
Interesting. Okay.
And I was so excited that I went on eBay and looked for a copy and bought a copy.
Oh, are you serious?
I haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it got here like a couple days ago.
Okay.
And the game is weirdly titled Super Dragon Ball Z, even though A, it's a PS2 game, and B, they came out with a series called Dragon Ball Super years later. So it's very confusing.
They do that with all kinds of stuff, though, right? Like Super Sonic, Super whatever, Mario Brothers.
I'm really looking forward to trying it out. And I think that if we can ever frickin' figure out how to stream a PS2 game in a way that like looks decent, then we should totally do that. There's another one called Sagas. That's the only Dragon Ball Z game I can find that has a co-op campaign, like a split screen co-op campaign that I think would be really fun as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I only play PC games, so on a controller, I have limited mobility.
That's fine. It gives me a winning chance. Well, unless we're doing the co-op one and then get your shit together because we got to win this thing. There's one other character that makes an appearance in this Super Dragon Ball Z game that I'm very excited about, and it's Mecha Frieza, which I think he makes an appearance in other games, but not very often. But for this specific game, they gave him I don't know if it's like a super attack or like a special one level only type thing, but they give him a rocket launcher, and you have to see this rocket launcher. It's bigger than he is.
That is so unwieldy and weird. Where does that come from?
I know. He never used it in the show or anything else, but for this one specific game, they gave him this weird ass rocket launcher to use in the fight. I think it's like an ultimate attack or something, but I don't know for sure.
And it's on his biological side also?
Yeah.
Like it comes out of the flesh?
Look closely, you can see a hand hovering over his left shoulder where his left hand also is. Like it's like a third arm sort of thing. It's very weird.
That's extraordinarily confusing, and now I'm excited.
I know, right? So that on top of the Chi-Chi being in the game, like I was excited to get this one. So I kind of want to try it out. Anyway, that's my Dragon Ball news for the day.
Yeah, wait, look for that coming soon. I don't know, sometime.
Yeah, whenever we like get back to normal, which might be
pretty soon.
Sometime this year for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to actually record in the same room again.
Oh, how nice would that be?
I'm trying to figure out how to make this work with the April Fool's thing. Last time on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z, we talked about the one and only Jonathan Frakes. Everybody had a fantastically dandy time. And now we're here on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z.
Are you going to do the saxophone music into the...
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
I absolutely am. I love that saxophone, by the way. You can hear in the recording, like it's a cheap $20 plugin. It's called Sensual Sax. And you can hear in it that it's just a fake ass instrument because as it switches between notes, it like plays different. One has like a and then another one just has and so it just sounds weird and bad. But I kind of am 100% okay making weird and bad memeable music for Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I completely agree. Welcome to Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z. I am Spencer.
And I'm John.
And today we're going to be going over episodes 133 through 139. It's a special 7-episode extended edition as we come to the end of the Android Saga.
We're doing 7 episodes instead of the regular 5, because then it's the end of the arc. There was 2 left over, and it was just weird to do a 2-episode episode.
Yeah, there's no way we're going to, especially like with this batch, as good as the saga has been, it does kind of like, there's a bit of filler here.
Yeah, it's like nothing happens in some of the episodes.
But in a way, everything happens.
Yeah, it's a couple of waiting for Goku to stop dying episodes.
Yeah, instead of waiting for Godot, it's waiting for Goku. Episode 133, we'll just get started. The Japanese title is And the Terror Becomes Reality. Number 17 and 18, Awaken. The American title is Nightmare Comes True.
My title for this episode is That's them.
So this episode starts with the Trunks flashback to the last episode.
Again.
The
next 5 episodes they start off with like a little minute-long recap of the last thing that happened in the previous episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. They do that a lot in the first set of arcs, but then they redub the lines. Like, it's the same animation, the same frames and all that, but then they'll have the actors do the lines again. In these, it's just copy paste. So it's where Vegeta is flying in front of Trunks, but it's a little different this time because Vegeta doesn't say, "Want to race, bitch." This time it's just Trunks thinking, "Wow, I can't believe my dad's such a fucking asshole."
Yeah, it's like the same scene, but from Trunks' perspective. So you get like a little bit of insight into what he's thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Trunks continues to be one of my favorite characters and a very normal, down-to-earth dude considering the trauma that he went through.
Yes. Yeah. Well, there are some moments where the Trunks' PTSD, everybody has serious problems.
In this show has PTSD.
Yeah. Trunks has earned it, though. I think Gohan has kind of earned it, and Trunks has definitely earned the PTSD that we're diagnosing him with. We then cut to this very strange, weird purple sequence.
Purple and red nightmare. That's what I called it.
Yeah, that's what it is. Where Goku, who is in bed at home, fighting off this virus, sweating, screaming, in this weird coma fit that he's having. He's dreaming about fighting Gero and Android 19. He's having dreams about things that he doesn't know.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, he knows, in quotes, that Android 19's head has been severed, and he sees it.
But he wasn't there for that.
But he wasn't there for that part. Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
how does he know?
I don't know. There's a lot of these. The characters just know.
The only thing of note in the weird nightmare is there's this weird pink creature that's very undefined.
Yeah.
And I think it might be they're trying their hand at foreshadowing for something coming up in the future, which is really... I don't know. I don't know how to take it, to be honest. I'm not sure what they meant.
It could be Goku's, since he knows, it could be the representation of the other androids, 17 and 18, that have not been revealed quite yet. Mm-hmm. But who knows? This show has plot telepathy and shit like that. So maybe that's what's going on. I don't know.
Anyway.
You know what? It is the same weird purple thing that when Trunks was explaining these androids are going to kill everybody, and they had that flashback to the weird purple silhouettes.
Yeah, sort of the amorphous, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same that. So maybe
so maybe that is the connection.
I don't know. I do want to say that when it kind of pans out and we realize it's a dream Goku's having, every single one of these scenes where it's Yamcha and Chi-Chi just like
hanging out.
Well, they're mulling over what they could possibly do to help Goku who's dying. Like it's so nice to have that kind of impact in this show, because I always say it has emotional impact if you're invested, and those moments for me, they really matter almost more than the punching.
Because like this entire string of episodes, Goku's in bed basically just screaming.
Yeah,
and it's kind of horrible to hear, but also as like an audience member, it sort of just becomes normal for you.
Yeah,
because you're just, you as a audience member are just waiting for Goku to wake up and beat up the bad guys. Mm-hmm. But in the universe, Chi-Chi and Yamcha are like seeing their friend and their husband going through like something that they know that he is, well, at least Yamcha knows he's destined to die from.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It is like there are a lot of like stop the action and just like let these characters feel how they feel for a little bit, but they are essentially powerless throughout this entire thing. They do try their best, but they can only do so much.
We cut to Piccolo, Tien, and Krillin.
Yes,
the remaining crew that are still looking for Zero's lab, and so they are flying through an empty canyon and then see a city, and Piccolo says, "That's it, all right, North City." And I don't know why he said that. Is that where they're going?
There is, yeah. Zero's lab is apparently just off of North City.
Okay, so they were going to North City so that they can then look for the lab from there.
Yes, correct.
Okay, all right.
It's the only thing yeah.
I thought it was just Piccolo sightseeing. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
No, maybe he's just always wanted to see it. It's entirely possible.
All the cities look exactly the same.
They're so similar.
They're so fucking similar. He's like, "That's it, North City."
Do you see snow in that shot? I honestly can't remember, but a lot of this section is like snowy.
Honestly, a lot of this is a blur. I haven't slept. So, like, a lot of this is just kind of like, oh god.
It cuts to Vegeta, Trunks and Vegeta. They argue some more.
Yeah, they just bicker.
And then it cuts to Bulma and Yajirobe, and they talk about the return of teenage Trunks.
That's right. And Bulma says she's talking to baby Trunks. She's like, "You're going to grow up to be really cool." And Yajirobe's like, "Not that cool." Like, he's so threatened by everyone else being better than him.
It's great. It's great. And then he falls off Gohan because they're still flying in the air.
His insecurities make him lose his grip.
Okay, so there must have been snow and ice and stuff, because my next note is that Piccolo, Tien, and Krillin search for Jiro's lab in the cold. So
yes, so
they've reached the approximate position and they split up to look for the lab.
Yeah, do you remember Krillin becomes encased in ice? Like fully encased in ice? Krillin, these episodes, is 100% the funny man. They completely make him the comedy guy. I think there's maybe one time where he's not the comedy guy, but
he's kind of the comedy guy.
Versus Namek Krillin? He was not really fully comedy guy. He was mostly like, oh my god, I don't want to die guy.
I prefer comedy Krillin to scared for my life Krillin.
It's the Krillin that I personally like more than coward ass Krillin.
It's much better. So they landed the snow, everybody's cold, and I believe this is where Piccolo says, "Just one more reason I'm glad I'm not an Earthling."
Yeah, what?
Apparently he's immune to cold. I don't understand what.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, it's a cool thing to have. It's a really nice trait to have.
But it's like every time he needs a superpower, he just has it.
Yeah, that's true.
So ill-defined.
Piccolo is Captain Marvel of this series.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? He should be cold. You know why? Because Namek was just a tropical paradise all the time.
Yep.
It's like when you grow up in the South and it's like humid and hot, and then you go to Seattle, it's like the cold is extra. Like you feel the cold more than a normal person because you're not acclimated to it. So,
and especially considering what Piccolo is made of, which we kind of know at this point, seeing all of his limbs get cut off slowly, we can look in there and it's just purple goo. So you'd think that would congeal a little bit in his system, but nope.
Doesn't. He's fine.
You don't give a shit. He's got the green skin. It just really sloughs off the cold. I don't know.
I guess. Anyway, our three dudes split up and they take 2 senzu beans each because there are 6 remaining. And I'm sure that won't come into play later. Jiro's still on the run. He's just running, trying to get to his lab first. And he runs into a hunter that, like, just randomly, he's just running through the snowy woods and he runs into a hunter that thinks that he is a deer,
which he is wearing yellow. I can kind of see the hunter's point of view because he's kind of like from a distance. Jiro has almost deer-ish colors, but not really. So this hunter should probably not be fucking hunting. That's the color you wear to not get shot at, right? Is yellow and like orange.
Yeah. So he probably shouldn't shoot it, but he totally does.
He totally does. So anyway, Jiro catches the bullet. And the hunter is like, oh, shit, I thought you were a deer. And then we cut to Krillin, so we can just assume this hunter's fucking dying.
That was my note, yeah. Uh-oh, and then dead.
And so we cut to Krillin, who is on the trail. Jiro fires off a beam towards a bunch of animals, which I don't know if he was trying to distract Krillin, but he kills a series of deer and alligators, and because this world has no consistency to where animals live. And Krillin notices that, sees all the dead animals, which is
the alive hunter.
And the living hunter who's just
somehow survived.
Yeah. The hunter's like, wow, I just got my ass kicked by a strange old man. And Krillin's like, oh shit, where'd the old man go? The hunter kind of points. That's what happens. So that he finds the hunter first. The hunter points, leads Krillin to the destroyed animals. Krillin finds the destroyed animals. And then Jiro appears and is like, ah, yes, Krillin, I've been expecting you. And kicks him in the chest.
And like a bunch of blood, just bleh.
So much blood. Krillin gets chest kicked and blood erupts from his lungs so often. I don't think any other characters really get the full chest cavity cave-in treatment that Krillin does.
And he just walks it off.
That's right, yeah. So Dr. Jiro is going to kill him. But then the other Z fighters he notices are kind of around. And Jiro says, later. And then he leaves.
Yeah, I will spare your life for now. And then he just leaves. So the deal was between our 3 heroes, if you find Jiro, raise your power level. And it's like sending up a signal flare and everybody will come running. Krillin doesn't at this point, but he does find the lab entrance, which is a solid metal door in the hull of a nearby mountain.
He thinks, okay, I should send up the signal. And then he stops as he's starting to power up. He's like, wait, this is my opportunity to follow Jiro. because he thinks I'm down and out. So I think it was a pretty smart move.
When you put it in those words, I kind of am on board with it. That's a good
first,
move.
I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But then he follows him and successfully finds his lab.
He finds the lab.
Like, okay, it was a risky move, but it played out well. So
yeah, that is true. You know what? View. Points to Krillin.
Points for Krillin. And don't worry, we'll take them away very fast.
Gero puts the code into his. There's this little keypad next to the entrance to his lab. The code is 5201. I don't know why that matters.
I was wondering if you're going to write down the code. I saw him punch it in, and I'm like, Spencer's going to write that down. Like, I don't have to remember it.
It totally did. And then, so he goes into his lab, and then Krillin decides to power up.
And then Jero's like, you are too late. I've already made it to my lab. The whole point was to find the lab without the... I get that he's just doing the, I'm puffing up my chest because you totally caught me with my pants down, but still...
Yeah,
like, just run. Just move faster. Instead, shut up. For this genius ass inventor, he's not very smart.
He's very cocky ever since he got his cyber limbs.
Yeah, and he's even got half of them cut off, and he's still
yeah. So he goes into his lab. Inside the lab, inside the mountain, are pods, and they are marked 17 and 18.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of know what's coming. He grabs a remote control and says something about activating the androids again, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if that refers to like them being awake previously or other androids or what.
Supposedly. And it's interesting. You see another pod that's labeled 19 that is open, and you do not see a pod for 20, which makes sense because Gero androidized himself.
Yeah, so he is 20, but he never had a pod.
So he never needed a pod. There is one other pod laying down horizontally on the ground.
On the floor, yeah.
We don't have a number for that one. We don't see it. But he does say, I hate to have to activate them again, which I guess we'll get to. There's a little more dialogue there that explores that.
Yeah.
So he does it. He activates Android 17.
It's super anticlimactic. Android 17 just sort of steps out. Like there's no, I don't know. I was expecting more, but he just steps out and he's there.
He just steps out, and the first thing he says is, hello, Dr. Gero. How are you today? And the androids are so fucking creepy. Maybe it's because the reveal is so boring. Like, seriously, Gero just opens it up and lets him out, and then opens up 18, and 18 gets out.
Yep.
And Android 17 is this raven-haired with an orange ascot-ish scarf.
It's like a bandana or
black
something.
Black shirt and greenish socks, jeans. He's got a gun. For some reason
he does. He doesn't need it, but he has one.
He's like he's like maybe an inch taller than Vegeta. He's not very tall. And Android 18 is this blonde-haired girl with a undershirt that's long sleeve, and then another
striped
tank top, and then a jacket over that.
Yeah,
so they're all fashionable. They're very fashionable.
Their looks are classic. These characters.
Yes. But the thing that really is creepy about them is their faces do not really make expressions as they speak, and their eyes, Trunks was right, their eyes look like doll eyes, and because they don't make these expressions, they look like horrifying dolls. 20 and 19, when they were revealed, kind of looked this way, but even they like smiled, and their eyebrows made movements.
Yeah, well, and Gero's human to begin with, so...
Yeah. But these two are just so incredibly creepy. They look inhuman. Like, okay, they appear to be human, but because of how they're like Data. They're like Data from Star Trek The Next Generation. They really are.
But like an evil version of Data.
Yeah, they're like Lore from Star Trek The Next Generation.
There you go. And their voices are very flat, very monotone, very emotionless, and so it just adds to it. And it's... yeah, they're creepy for sure.
The first thing that they both notice is the weird remote that Gero decided to pick up, which also, did you notice this? Gero walks into his lab, grabs the remote, and that's what turns on the lights. Like, that feels like kind of a dumb way to turn on the lights in your lab.
Especially knowing what else the remote does.
Exactly. Yeah. That happens. They're both looking at the remote. The rest of the gang arrives at the doors, which Gero has locked, these big steel doors.
They're stopped by metal doors.
And Krillin says, hey, he got in there. This is his lab, and he's in there. And Piccolo's like, God damn it! And starting to punch the door. Dude, Piccolo is an angry man these episodes.
Yeah, he really is.
It's just a ball of fury. The androids and Gero start to have a nice little conversation where it's revealed that Gero has put them to sleep because they were insubordinate, but he's changed their programming this time.
So it's fine.
So it's fine now. But it's not really, because literally 5 minutes later, Android 17 steals the remote from Giro and breaks it.
Yep.
I just want to skip over this part because it's basically 5 minutes of Dr. Giro shouting, "You will obey my commands."
They don't.
And the androids never obeying their commands.
Yeah.
Vegeta and Trunks arrive. Vegeta is like, "Look, you guys suck. Get out of the way." It blasts open the door. And this is where my favorite shot of the episode, where all of the androids, Giro and 17 and 18, are coated in smoke. The clouds of smoke slowly reveal 18's face, and it's so fucking creepy.
It's really good.
Their reveal of what they look like was crap. They just walk out of a pod. But this reveal to the other main cast is so good. It's such a
it's
good
what
one.
The original should have been. I think a little bit of the effect is lost because the audience already knows what they look like, but like, at least they got there. The episode sort of ends there. Like Vegeta, I think it's Vegeta in his head. He says, "There's the androids, there's that weird dude, and a beautiful young girl," which is a weird thing to say.
I don't know. How old is Vegeta? He's a bachelor on the go.
God damn, that's a great question. I mean, he's got a bastard son.
He's about 5 when Goku is sent off.
And Goku's like 20, late 20s, early 30s at this point. Well, he might be a little younger than that, but like, yeah, he might be mid 30s because he gets married when he's like 19 or something like that.
Yeah. So Vegeta's probably, let's say, soft 30.
They're roughly the same age. I do think that the androids are like supposed to be late teens.
Yes.
17 and 18 are chosen for a very specific reason. They're meant to be a little bit younger. So I guess it's not that weird, but it just like Vegeta calling anything beautiful weirds me out.
That's
I guess,
what it is.
Thing. Yeah.
It's odd. I don't like the idea of Vegeta getting with anybody. Like for some reason it freaks me out.
Bulma's okay because they have this similar like antagonistic
dynamic, right?
Dynamic between them, yeah.
But they don't. We also don't ever see any sort of flirtation between them, which makes me okay with it.
Anytime anything is expressed between them, it's in anger. Whether it's positive or negative, it's in anger.
It's just pure disdain.
Yeah.
I don't even know how they fucked. Like, I really don't understand how that went down. Because they did, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, just watch Dragon Ball Abridged. Dragon Ball Z Abridged. It covers it pretty well.
No, that goes too far. There are some scenes in Dragon Ball Z Abridged that I'm like, ugh. Like, it makes me kind of cringe. That
You're
one,
not
I was
wrong.
like,
that one's not family friendly at all. They kind of twisted
I understand it's played for laughs. I get it. But also, it's just like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to know.
Doing this?
You're ruining it.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the end of the episode.
Anyway, that's the end. Episode 134. The Japanese title is Too Late to Do Anything? The Ultimate Weapons to Kill Goku. The American title is Goku's Assassin.
My episode title is, What? Did you say Goku? Which is another quote. A lot of my episode titles are just quotes.
It's perfect, though.
I find funny. Oh, I forgot. The last episode's quote is, my title is because Vegeta looks in and says, I guess those are the androids. And Trunks goes, Yep, that's them.
Then that's the end of the episode.
He just tosses that out.
So great.
All right.
Yeah. So they recap. The first scene of this episode is them recapping of them opening the door that leads to Jiro's lab, which we just saw a couple minutes ago.
Again.
I think it's Jiro that says these androids aren't the same kind that I and 19 were. Like they don't absorb energy. An energy absorbing model would be easier to control.
That's right. 17 says to Jiro in kind of a taunting way, it appears as though you've turned yourself into an android. And you and 19 were energy absorption models. Is that correct? You believed it would be easier to control those. Is that correct? And he's taunting. He's just kind of ribbing him a little bit. It's fucking rad.
It's so weird to me that 19 and 20, the androids that we've seen pretty much die at this point, are less powerful than 17 and 18, but they were built afterward.
Yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense if 17 and 18 are more powerful, but because of that, they are impossible to control and give directives to.
Okay.
So he had to tone it down for the next set. Like Jiro really thought that 19 and 20, 19 and himself as an android or whatever, were going to be able to handle Goku no problem. And they would have, were it not for the whole Namek thing. He just went way overboard in 17, 18. He put as much whatever super android juice as he could. He filled it to the max. It's also revealed that I think 17 says, or maybe 18, it's my understanding that you destroyed all of the other androids up to 15. And that's where they reveal 16, the other android in the other pod laying horizontally on the ground.
Yep.
And they're like, I think it's time to wake him up. And that's when Gero just starts losing it. I demand you, blah, 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 blah. And 17 just fucking kills him.
Yep.
Puts a hand through Gero and then cuts off Gero's head. And this was always something in the show that bothered me. When the Z Fighters saw that happen, maybe they should have extended him an olive branch at that moment. Like, hey, good work. Let's be friends. Like, where's the Goku? I guess Goku's not there to do it.
Yeah, that's true. And they're programmed specifically to kill Goku.
But they know Bulma and Dr. Briefs that are good at robots and could just fix the programming.
Yep, you're not wrong. Would they have let them, though?
I don't know, because they're not unreasonable beings, I assume.
They don't seem to be unreasonable. That's very true.
Which we'll get to in these episodes. Let's talk about it later. So
yeah.
Anyway, Gero's head gets cut off, and it flies over to Krillin, and Gero's disembodied head then says, all right, that does it. Now I am mad. When he's just a head. Comedy. Yes. So good. And then 17 just lands on him and crushes the head, which finally, because the last 10 minutes of what we've watched are just Gero screaming that you have to follow him. Just shut him up. Thank you.
They awaken 16 and take him out of his pod.
But not before Trunks gets really pissed up and fucking Super Saiyan blasts the whole lab.
Oh, God, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so Trunks is like, I can't stand this anymore. It goes Super Saiyan and just annihilates the entirety of the lab with the big old blast.
The music is pretty awesome here, too.
They overuse the Ginyu Transform song here. They use it. I think they use it twice.
It's the same track.
Yeah, so it's that choral track that they start using when things get real now. It started with Ginyu and Goku switch bodies. It's such a good track, they just use it all the time. But if you Google it, it's called I think it's called Ginyu Transform.
That is a crazy legacy for that character to have, because I love that track and I do not associate it with Ginyu at all.
No, and people listening to this podcast probably forgot who the fuck Ginyu was. So
exactly,
like
he's the frog.
He comes back in Super. We'll get to him in 2025.
Yeah, exactly. So Trunks blows up the lab. From what I remember, there's not a lot of wreckage or anything. It's literally just like 17 and 18 survived, and they're holding the pod that 16 is contained in. And somehow they're all fine.
Everything else is destroyed. It's literally rock underneath them. And they were in a full metal lab with gears. And I really liked the look of the lab. Like, it had all these cool mechanical apparatuses, and they're gone. It's just, they're standing on a mesa now.
Yep. It's all gone.
So we're back to normal.
And then they lower the pod, and I can't remember whether it's 17 or 18, but one of them goes over and pushes a button on the 16 pod that clearly says 16 danger. They just hit that button. So Android 16 rises, and he is a very large man.
He is. Oh my God. Android 16's design is one of my favorite character designs in the show. It's unlike...
He's a great character as is.
Yes, he's a great character with great design. So Android 16 is programmed to kill Goku, and that is it. That's the
only thing. In fact, I think Gero says something about him not being able to finish 16's programming.
That's right. His program is not complete.
Which is weird, because 17 and 18 and 19 and 20 are all done and over with, but he never went back to 16 for some reason.
Yeah,
so he has a very loose programming.
I don't think Gero's is as smart as, he might be the scatterbrained scientist type, where he's really,
I can see that.
Really intelligent about building androids and stuff, but in the code, he's doing it backwards. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
So 16's only mission in life is to kill Goku, and he really hasn't had any other programming besides that, whereas 17 and 18 do have a semblance of a personality.
That's right, yeah.
So during this whole thing, this whole sequence, Trunks is kind of astonished a couple times about how this isn't what was supposed to happen. Now, obviously the timeline has changed, but he's never seen or heard of Android 16 before. 19 and 20 were new to him. Things are different, and he makes a point of saying that a couple times.
Yes, which... he wasn't around for all this stuff, and he can't ask anybody that was. So it's possible that a lot of this did, in fact, happen.
I mean, we find out later he's not. It's not just him being ill-informed. But I will say, though, you're right. He's getting the history of it from Bulma, right? So
yeah, exactly. So they do shore up some of this time-skipping damage a little bit later, which next saga, we're going to have a lot of that, I'm sure. There's a lot of more questions than answers.
Yeah, for sure. So the androids don't fight. They just leave.
No, they just leave. They just float off.
They go to kill Goku. They leave Vegeta, Trunks, Krillin, Tien, and Piccolo to go find Goku, because that's that's what they're programmed for.
And then Vegeta gets all sweaty and screams off, "They're cowards, they're leaving because they're afraid of me." And then Trunks T-poses in front of him again, as he is wont to do now. This is just a thing Trunks does. He gets in front of him and holds out his arms and is like, "No, you can't go out there and fight them. They're too fucking strong. We got to wait for Goku." And this is the one where it really comes to a head, where Trunks is pushing the Goku angle and Vegeta is pushing the "but my pride though" angle. And Vegeta punches him in the stomach and flies the fuck off.
It's just more child abuse in this show.
Holy shit. Sabat really gives it his all in these Vegeta voice lines. Sorry. Saboat really gives it all in these Vegeta voice lines. They're really good. And you can tell that the Vegeta that we understand, or his voice type in the future, it's starting to come to that point. He's no longer just doing an impression of the previous guy. Now he's kind of doing his own thing ish.
Yeah.
It's half and half. It's like I like to get my Panda Express, half and half.
Well, and he's got more stuff to do. Like, he's got a bigger character arc. At this point, I think he's the only character, or soon to be the only character, that Trunks doesn't know that he knows the truth about Trunks, if that makes sense. Like, everybody in the past at this point, Trunks knows that they know he's from the future. Vegeta figured it out on his own, and Trunks is still convinced that Vegeta has no idea he's actually Trunks' dad.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
it plays into a lot of what Vegeta does.
But do we really know? Like, I don't, because it's hard to take this fucking show at face value because they retcon things. We don't really even know if Vegeta even knows because the show hasn't directly told us that he knows yet. Except the one time where he says, "I can't believe he's a Super Saiyan, but then again, he's my son." And then in the future, we'll get to it in this episode of the podcast, they'll talk about how Vegeta doesn't even know. Like, it gets really hard to rationalize and like put it all in order that makes sense because it doesn't at all.
Well, in my mind, Vegeta knows, and that's nobody knows that he knows, because that's a better way to look at the Vegeta character at this point, I think.
Yeah, because otherwise he'd be grossly incompetent.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is possible, actually. I also love that, okay, so Vegeta flies off after him.
Yes.
Trunks is kind of left being like, why the fuck is he such an asshole? And I love that Krillin here is half very on the mark with the things that he's saying, and the other half, he's very off. So, for example, after Vegeta punches Trunks in the stomach, Krillin says, "There's no point in trying to catch up with him. They're long gone now." And then literally 10 seconds later, Piccolo goes, "There's no time to waste. Let's go." And they fly off. But then also, before that, Krillin is the one that deduces they're flying off to go find Goku. Like, everybody else is like, "Oh, they're just leaving. That's so weird." And that's when Vegeta's like, "Oh, they're afraid of me." And Krillin's like, no. They are programmed to kill Goku, right? So they're just doing that like machines would do. So he's like halfway genius, halfway the only guy that knows what's happening. And then the other half of the time, the other characters don't give a fuck because they have to go punch stuff.
Yeah, it's the curse of being the intelligent follower.
I suppose that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. I think this is where Krillin's character arc starts to actually get pretty good. I can't say I like him because we'll get to it in some of the things that he chooses to do. But I think as a character, he is one of the better ones.
Yeah, at the very least, he's like three-dimensional, right?
Yes.
Like he does stuff, but he always has a reason.
Yeah. So after that, they fly off. We cut to Yajirobe and Gohan and Bulma have set up camp because they've been flying all day.
I guess. I mean, I guess you could rationalize it as Gohan's tired because flying takes energy, but it very much confused me.
It did, confuse me too. Maybe they're tired. Like, I don't know how fast they're flying. He probably can't fly that fast, holding all of them. And he's trying to make it easy for the baby, maybe.
I guess.
It's fine. This is okay. And so they're all hanging out. And the only thing I want to say about this is we get to see baby Trunks' tiny baby pee-pee.
Yep.
And I didn't want to.
That's the only thing that I wanted to say as well.
Yeah, that's it. So moving on.
It's a thing that happens, and
yes, it's just another thing I didn't see when it was airing on TV, and I'm fine with that. Actually,
I think it was a good cut to make.
Yes. Yeah. I think I said that as tastefully as I possibly could. Right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's probably good. So we now cut to the Goku is dying show
segment of this episode. Yeah.
Chi-Chi's just making him food now. because
she doesn't know what else to do besides cook.
Yeah. She's like, I know what Goku's going to say as soon as he wakes up, which is going to be soon, is that he's going to be hungry. Like
she's just like falling apart.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, this is people don't give this show enough credit for the heart that it actually has, I think. And that's why I keep saying it. It really does have some well-intentioned, well-crafted emotional center to it. And this is part of it. And I guess this is the part where Yamcha gives him the cure.
It depends on how you look at it. So I think I've got it figured out because I was confused too.
All right.
Until the end of this series of episodes. I think what it is the antidote is it's like a medication. You have to take one every X number of hours. I think that's what it is because he gives Goku another dose of the antidote.
It's like a bean or something. It's like
it is. Pill. It's really weird, like a little gel capsule or something.
Yeah.
But he calms down. Goku calms down a little bit and Yamcha says, I think the medicine is working. So I think it's like a multi-step process of healing.
And then he does say, Yamcha says, I think we should both take some of this medicine anyway, because this shit's viral. To Chi-Chi. He's saying that to Chi-Chi.
Yeah, so they take a little bit too, just as a precaution.
She says, okay, but you can buy your own. He physically can't. It's from the future.
It's from the future.
You don't know that, but...
Anyway, cuts to Super Saiyan Vegeta, zooming over the androids as cocky as ever.
Oh, yeah. I really love how cocky Vegeta is.
It starts to piss me off around now, but it's a different character trait. Sure.
I mean, I enjoy the buildup of his cockiness because in the next couple episodes, we'll see why. That's why, it's annoying because he just keeps stroking it constantly, verbally, but gets to where the androids are. They're looking for a car, the androids now. 17
wants to steal a car because he just wants to, he's never driven one. Like, it's just an aspiration that he has. It shows a small sequence where 16, the big hulking dude with a red mohawk, just hears birds. He just enjoys hearing the birds.
You just enjoy the birds. And 17 turns around and they were talking about getting a car, 17 and 18. And 17 goes to 16. He's like, what do you think about that? And 16 goes, what? Did you say Goku? Like, they didn't at all. They weren't saying that at all. They're talking about getting a car. And 17's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have woken you up, dude.
Yeah, it's so great. And then Vegeta lands and starts taunting his newly found enemies.
Look at how golden my hair is, motherfuckers.
Yeah, you're nothing but a machine made of tin.
He really lays it on thick. Yeah, this is the point where I also was like, shut the fuck up. Like, I like him, and I'm like, shut the fuck up.
And so I don't know if it's 17 or 18. One of them says, he talks too much. Let's see what you can do, 16. But he refuses to fight anybody but Goku, because that's what he's programmed for. And so 18 steps up and calls Vegeta a little man. And I love it so very much in there. It's 18 v Vegeta, and that's where the episode ends.
Yeah.
All right. Episode 135. The Japanese title is Good Looks and Superpower? No Blind Spot on number 18. The American title is Deadly Beauty.
My title for this one is Acceptable Casualties.
This episode starts off with 16 once again hearing birds. I promise this will be relevant later, but it does. That's just a random scene that happens at this point. And he gets mad when the fighting that 18 and Vegeta start to do scares away the birds. And 16 gets mad. Yeah,
yes. He's really into fucking birds. Sorry, let me say that again.
Oh, okay. Rephrase, yeah.
He's really into birds. He just is. He really likes the birds. They're cute, and it makes him smile. Like the other androids, we never see them smile, never once. And then 16 sees birds and he smiles, and it like, I don't know. It's nice foreshadowing.
There's something there. There's something there.
So before 18 and Vegeta start punching the shit out of each other, we get more Vegeta, I'm the best stuff. And it plays his theme, the piano stuff. Or I'm sorry.
I love that theme.
Vegeta has a different theme for just the Vegeta theme. And then he's got a piano part where he goes Super Saiyan. It just plays the regular Vegeta theme that it played back in the Saiyan saga. But now it's got bells and a little guitar solo, which is kind of funny, especially because I'm watching it at 1.2 speed. So the guitar solo is way too fast. It was way too fast. So they start punching each other. They go after it. And 18 takes Vegeta by surprise because she starts off the fight and she's way faster than Vegeta was expecting. They punch each other a little bit and it cuts to Trunks peeing on Yajirobe again. Sorry, baby Trunks peeing on Yajirobe. I have to have to say which one it is. And that's all I want to say about that cut. So
Fine. Yeah, that does happen. And then it cuts to some random sheep farmer near North City. And he's like, oh, nuts. I'm so bored. Nothing ever happens around here. And then he almost dies because the androids and Vegeta show up and just demolish.
God. Yeah. So they start, Android 18 and Vegeta are fighting, and they're fighting in a city-ish environment. So they're fighting on the highway. There are other cars that are kind of around them.
Which is really cool. Like, we've never seen this in DBZ before, where the real world that we as viewers sort of know, you know, and it's an exaggerated DBZ form aside, we still kind of know it. And the world of DBZ where they are fighting, and usually it's in no man's land. Like, it's in landscapes that do not exist in the real world, and they're just very like barren and empty and like stuff you don't see a lot. But this is like this weird combination, and I love it.
It's the best place that they've ever fought. It's easily top combat zone for me. And it's incorporating the environment where 18 is jumping on cars which are going the opposite direction, and it takes her away from Vegeta, and Vegeta has to follow after her. And during the fight, they kill 4 people. Like, they blow up 4 fucking cars during this fight. And it's so cool. Like,
several cars explode is my note.
Yes. And they end up fighting on the back of a semi, which is really cool. It reminded me of the Matrix.
Like the Matrix is what I put. And it, like, I love that it's Vegeta and an android, because neither one of them care about civilians.
Shit.
They don't care. If it was anybody else, you know, Krillin, Tien, Goku, Yamcha, they would care about casualties.
But they don't.
These 2 characters are perfect for this fight because they don't care.
That's so good. I hope that was a Toriyama writing decision where they're like, man, I suppose I could really amp up the collateral damage since they don't give a shit. I'm pretty sure it has to be intentional. So props to Toriyama. Solid writing.
It's a solid choice for this fight.
Solid choice. I like that a lot.
It gives us something we don't ever see in Dragon Ball Z up to this point. It's great.
And so they eventually end up fighting all the way back to the original little road that they met on. And they're standing off against each other. And behind 18 is a semi truck that comes up and stops. And there's a trucker. And have you noticed that everybody who's driving is a hick? Like, all of them are like...
Yeah. Did you... Like, there's like a part where it shows these truckers and there's like banjo music that plays.
Yes!
Like, it's so weird.
It can't... All right. Anyways, they deal in stereotypes all the time. And
they
we
really
talked about this before, so it's only fair. They do it for all the other groups, so might as well. Banjo-ass truckers, sure.
Yeah. So this particular trucker says something along the lines of like, what are you 2 doing in the middle of the road? I got this truckload of paper clips that I gotta get.
Yep. Solid Funimation. Good move. I don't know if that's in the original Japanese.
I have no idea, but it's perfect.
But this is some of the perfect scenes to explain how Dragon Ball Z combines a very serious situation with great comedic timing. The only show, and I haven't even watched this, I've only heard of the show does it well. The only other show that I can point to that does it well would be Guardians of the Galaxy, where they'll be serious, and then punctuate it with the joke. And it's not overdone. It's not too much. Or it's undercut with a joke. Like, there's a joke that's happening while the serious thing is happening. So I think Dragon Ball Z has officially nailed their structure. It is, it's along those same lines. Like, I think Dragon Ball Z is a bit more action drama oriented, but it is like, I can see that crossing of the Venn diagram between those 2 things. It's that feel. Yes. So Vegeta just blows up the truck. Just explodes it. He just explodes it. He puts out his hand, fires up a blast, and it absolutely annihilates not only the truck, but also the road that was behind the truck. And so that's 5 casualties this episode, which is, it's just great. And then we cut to everybody's most pointless scene. Fucking favorite character, Marin, and she gives Roshi a bloody nose. And thank merciful Kami, that's all we hear from them. It's literally all it is. It's such a pointless scene. I hate it. Oh my God. And then it cuts to 18 headbutting Vegeta, which is very fun. It was super effective too. Yeah, it was super effective. It was like he got fucked from that headbutt. I'm trying to interpret my note here. Is this where like it shows POV of Vegeta's vision and like blood starts to fill? Yes, but it wasn't only just the blood covering his eye. It was him being so angry he's now seeing red. That because he loses all of his composure and just charges at her. Dude, it's so great too, because this is like
This whole fight is Vegeta getting his like just desserts. My note is like he has his ego handed to him as he's kneed in the chest by 18.
And it's a hard knee. Yes.
It's really hard.
A lot of the
slammed into a rock wall. Like it's brutal.
A lot of the fighting I noticed is not particularly well animated up to this point. There are always certain hits that are, this knee isn't really well animated necessarily, but they do stop kind of time on the hit to show this one hurt kind of a lot. A lot of the art here is also particularly less than stellar. But what I mean by that, and I feel like I need to qualify it because I say that a lot, sometimes when you see a still image of Dragon Ball Z, you can count the number of shading layers on a character. A lot of the time it's just 2. So their skin is kind of pale beige and then there will be a darker shadow. Eventually it gets to the point where there's 3 or even 4 layers of shading. Here it's mostly 1 flat shot. And I'm like, It makes animating much easier when you don't have to really color everything in as you're doing frame by frame by frame. But also it makes the animation itself have less depth. Also, the number of frames in between animation, like you can have 12 frames of a running animation, and it looks really smooth. You can have 4 and it looks a little choppier, but it still works. You have 2 and it's like, what the fuck? This one is like somewhere in between the 2 and the 4 for a lot of the animation. It's not particularly amazing. And then 18 breaks Vegeta's arm. And that one, it's. I think that's where they put their budget. Because you can see the multiple shading layers and you can see the hit, and Vegeta hits the ground and just cries. And I think that's the end of the whole episode.
It really is like Vegeta's left arm is backwards. There's a couple other things. Most notably, I think the Z Fighters shows up.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Everybody else shows up, but they have this deal. Vegeta wants to fight 18 alone. Like 17 says, hey, you should fight 18 by yourself. And Vegeta's like, yeah, definitely. Of course.
I can do that. But then cut to 2 minutes later and he's crying.
But at this point, Piccolo and Tien and Krillin and Trunks are all there. So, but yes. And then the episode kind of ends there with Vegeta's ego just shattered on the floor.
Just annihilated. But you know what? He doesn't depower from Super Saiyan. Notice that. True. I figured he would.
Yeah, he didn't.
He didn't.
Not yet. Episode 136. The Japanese title is Nobody's Able to Stop Them. Is this the end of the Z Warriors? And the American title is No Match for the Androids.
My title is Kamehame Turtle. All of my titles I've noticed are just quotes. I think it's because we're doing 7 episodes.
There's some good quotes in these episodes.
That is also true. Yeah. Yes. So this is where I noticed a significant increase in the art quality itself, where there are additional shading layers and there's more attention to detail in the backgrounds. And I don't know why. Like, I want to know why this happens. I don't know. And I'm
like,
curious.
How do they choose?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it might just be like Jeremy, clocked in for the day. And it's on him now.
He's on standby. Like that day, they just felt like playing croquet or whatever the fuck. Yeah. And so they're like, bring in Jeremy. I don't feel like doing the rest. Big epic moment where we've revealed that the bad guys are actually really tough. But that water polo match, we have it scheduled. So,
so we got to do it.
We
can't keep putting it off.
Did you bring the PB&J? Yeah. All right. Call Jeremy.
Anyway, so Jeremy's out at this point, thankfully.
Yes. Finally.
But there's sort of more recap. And then Trunks steps in for Vegeta with his sword. And the last time we saw this sword in play was when he chopped Frieza in half effortlessly. And so he goes to sword 18 and fails miserably. He hit the sword hits 18 and she throws her arm up to block and the sword shatters. Like there's a chunk taken out of it because it's just ineffective.
And then she two fists him.
So 17 jumps in to fight 2 now that Trunks has broken their agreement of 18 versus Vegeta, and that's it.
Yep.
Piccolo, Tien, and almost Krillin also decide to jump in.
Almost Krillin, which I can't blame him, but also this episode hammers in why a lot of people really dislike.
Look, I
Krillin.
get it. I do understand the hate, but also
it's a character trait, not or it's a personality trait.
It's like it's more of a quirk. It does rear its ugly head sometimes because it had to happen for the plot, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
it pretty much had to happen for the plot, as we'll see later. So like they had to pick, and they picked Krillin, and I don't disagree with the decision, but I also feel like there has been time and time again where Krillin has been willing to jump in.
Yeah, steps up to the plate, does what he has to, puts his life on the line. But this time, Tien, Piccolo, and Trunks dive in without thinking. We're going to help out. We have a chance. And Krillin gets cold feet and just stands and watches.
Yeah, so there's a reason for this, but I feel like it kind of almost does go against his character in a way. Like, it's not justified enough for me to feel like confident in his decision, but whatever.
Right. Yeah.
He's got cold feet.
Yeah. And so he's just standing on the road and looks over at 16 and notices 16 kind of turns his head and smiles at him.
Yeah. It's so weird. And then a bird lands on 16's hand,
which is just,
and
it's so good.
It's really good. It's really good, actually. And this is why, somebody had to stay behind in the fight. Yeah. Krillin notices that, and he's like, he just wonders
the fuck,
if lots of birds like him.
So, anyway. All right, so Piccolo dives in and just gets got like immediately, like he always does. Like that's just a Piccolo.
Yeah, he goes after
now.
Android 17 and just fails.
Just gets got. Also, noticeable increase in animation quality, specifically for this scene where the other Z fighters come in, and I think it's because they're the characters that people know and love, and they wanted to show some love. 17 clutches Tien's throat, or like gets behind him and chokes him out, rather. And that's it. The Z fighters are done. Vegeta tries to get the jump on 18 again, but gets dirt-faced immediately. And his Super Saiyan drops. Yeah. Trunks' Super Saiyan lasted a whole 4 seconds, which makes me wonder, like, is he really that well trained as a Super Saiyan? Because he got hit once. Like, after his sword breaks on 18's arm, that he gets hit and he's Super Saiyan just fucking drops. So maybe he's like Super Saiyan 0.5. Like, he can do the hair thing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no, I agree. I think that he is forced to step up to the plate more than he would if he were more like ready. Like he's more of a victim than a hero. Yeah, so
that's a good way to
he tries his best. I think it's 17 that says Vegeta's hair has changed color again.
Yeah, that's right.
No explanation. They don't know what's going on.
They're just it's just weird. It's like Piccolo's eyes when they were purple in the Garlic Jr. saga.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just weird. I know. I should not have brought that up.
Don't bring that evil back on us.
Yeah, created this swell of anger within me. I don't know why I would do that to myself. I do want to say that our idea about energy, how you have to have it concentrated and focused on you in order for you to not get shot by a gun or whatever.
Sure.
That holds true because the androids have unlimited ass energy. That's probably why the sword just breaks on 18's arm.
Yeah, and I actually like that explanation a lot. It's not that it wouldn't have worked. It's just that she was able to focus, and she has like, a fully rechargeable battery.
Yeah, unlimited energy at all times. Which, how? But okay.
Who cares? There's solar power.
Yeah, okay. It's fine.
So Krillin is the only one. He's all that's left. Tien, Piccolo, Vegeta, Trunks, they're all down. He's just like, maybe if I just stay quiet. And they all immediately notice him.
Look at him. Immediately he's like, shit, I shouldn't have said that out loud.
And then it cuts to commercial.
And then we go to... Let's just get this over with. So it gets to Marin, okay? Marin's on a surfboard thing. She's, what is that called? A windboard?
So windboard. It is. It's like she's windsurfing.
And there are 3 dudes, it's 2 dudes on a speedboat. And they're like, hey, girl, you want to join our threesome? And she's like, yeah. And so she gets off the surfboard and almost drowns. And then Turtle saves her. Turtle brings her back to Kami Island. The dudes drive up. They get out. And they're like, oh, come on, girl. Let's go. Let's get crazy. This is a direct quote. Hey, girl, let's get crazy. All right. So Turtle then says, hey, Marin, I thought you were waiting for Krillin. And she goes, oh, yeah, I guess I wasn't I? Like, just go away. Just fucking. So then Turtle assumes a fighting position and beats the shit out of those other guys.
Yeah, the 2 dudes try to attack a turtle and they get their asses handed to them. They say, stand aside or we'll turn you into soup.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which, oh my God.
We don't get an animated sequence. It does a cut where it cuts to black and then some hitting sounds and then the dudes are toast. And then that's where Turtle says, Kamehameha Turtle. And I just lost my shit. I was just not expecting it. In the scene that I did not want to exist. Yeah. Suddenly something existed that I enjoyed. So anyway, Marin is like, wow, Turtle, you saved me. And then we get this really long extended
Super
moment
weird.
where Marin goes to kiss the turtle, and Turtle like gets really like, and puts his head in his shell. So she kisses the shell. And Marin says, I was just trying to show my appreciation. And Turtle from inside the shell says, it's wrong, you and me.
So basically Marin's into whatever.
Yeah.
And Turtle has a reasonable sense of the universe as it's supposed to.
Oh my God. Okay. And then he says at the end, I love her, but I can't.
Yeah.
But I don't think he means love as in like romantic love. I think he means just like as a person, because Turtle's
a good character.
Like, I don't know. I don't understand what we're supposed to take away from this scene. And that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I don't know what we're supposed to take away from this scene.
It doesn't make any sense given what happens after, and it doesn't add to anything that's going on at the moment.
No,
like,
it doesn't make sense. Like, are we supposed to get the idea that Marin's a floozy? Because we get that.
Oh,
like, we already
totally
know.
Understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it trying to tell us that interspecies romances aren't allowed? When was that going to come up in the future? Fuckface? And I don't know who Fuckface is. I guess I'm talking to the writers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just mad.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And having Marin like do a total 180 to wanting Krillin back and realizing that she made mistakes to her old self is like such a slap in the face to what little character she had. And
yes.
Auntie justifies her continued presence in the show even more.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't get why they did it.
It's unbearable.
Yeah,
it really is. Good God. So we had to talk about that, because if I don't get that off my chest, it'll cave in from the weight of the hate that I feel. That is a bunch of lyrics to a song.
It's pretty good.
Exist. It's called Marin.
Oh, I love that.
I am not writing a song for Marin. Anyway, we come back to the real show.
The real show.
Krillin just fucking watches as they all walk away. It's kind of depressing, because I thought that's where it was going to leave Krillin, like him just being a coward. Because afterwards we cut to Goku, Chi-Chi, and Yamcha.
Like, Goku's still sick, essentially.
Yeah,
it's very quick. And Gohan at this point flies towards his home, but everybody except Gohan wants to go to Bulma's house.
And they're like right there.
Yeah, and so even though Gohan's like in total control of the situation, he decides to go to Capsule Corp instead of going to see his mom and his dying father, which is just very odd. It's really, really, really weird.
He says, I guess it's 3 against 1. So,
yeah, but like Bulma doesn't want to see Goku. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
it's so weird.
I mean, I can kind of get it, because she's a new mom. And so that's how she explains it in the moment, is she's like, you wouldn't believe how hard it is being a mom. I have to continue to change Trunks' diaper and make sure that he's fed. And fuck Yajirobe's opinion.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Nobody gives a shit.
Anyway, it cuts.
He's hungry, so that's his
so whatever. It cuts back to Krillin, and he finally he realizes that he's all that stands in the way between like the androids and Goku dying.
And so he goes up and he starts playing the diplomacy card, which, wow, I never thought I'd make a Picard Krillin comparison. But the bald diplomat is your...
He rears his head.
He rears his head.
He rears his bald head.
And he tries. He asks, like, you guys don't have to do this. Like, he really makes pathos play. And it earns him a kiss, actually.
Yeah, I mean, he tries. They aren't having any of it. But instead of getting punched or anything, 18 steps up and kisses him on the cheek. And Krillin is very confused about that. And 18 says bye. It definitely messes with him as the androids fly off again.
It messes with him so hard.
Yeah, he does not know. Well, like in his defense, who wouldn't be incredibly confused at that moment?
Yeah. Also, it's weird that the androids, like, they're not threatening. They just are. They're not cackling villains. They're not evil motherfuckers. They're just like, look, we're programmed to go kill Goku, so that's what we're gonna go do.
Yeah, like I really like their development as characters, because it's so different, and it kind of like twists your perception of what the villain should be. It's very weird.
I also like that the most damage that was done to any character was from a kiss.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Out of all the punching and the blasting and the hurt, nope. The most damage that was done to any one character was from that one kiss, and it was totally unintentional.
Yeah, it's such a great way to end the episode, because it totally twists your perception of the androids.
One more thing. I think they mentioned that, don't you get it, Krillin? This whole thing is just a game.
Oh, yeah. 17 actually does say something like that. Like, finding Goku's just part of the game. Like, they are not, like you were saying, like cackling evil, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because every time Trunks talks about them, it sounds like they are. It's very strange.
Trunks' perception of them is also that they killed everyone.
Yeah.
He can only have hate for them. So
yeah, and I don't think that like what he's experiencing as far as that goes is like a time travel thing. Like things, they're not different. They're the same androids that he faced. It's just that he's getting a different perception of now that he's not grown up around the carnage. And us and audiences get to see those characters as fully like fleshed out.
It doesn't invalidate his perspective.
But it is his perspective.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're moving on to episode 137. The Japanese title is Piccolo's Resolution, the last measure in his reserve. The American title is Last Ditch Effort.
My title is Fuck You, Marin. No one will miss you.
Oh, man. Finally, this episode.
This is if we get to send her off.
Yeah.
Forever.
Forever? That's what I thought last time.
I'm pretty sure it's forever because Master Roshi says, I think she's gone for good.
That's true.
And I'm hoping I can believe in Master Roshi, the pervert old man.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later.
So it starts basically exactly where the last episode left off. There's no real recap, I don't think, but Krillin grabs the 6 remaining sensu beans that they had talked about earlier, and he tries to figure out if he has 6 friends or not. Like, he's like, I hope I have enough.
That's right. He's really confused from his kiss.
Yeah, it totally throws him off his game. But like he revives everybody. It's kind of fun to see all of these guys just knocked out flat. They're just done. They were defeated. There's no two ways about it.
And Piccolo, I don't remember what he does. My note is Piccolo's the fucking best. I wish I could remember why I said that.
Let's see.
All I remember is Krillin walks around, hands everybody senzu bean. They kind of recuperate. They talk about how they were beaten.
Yeah, and for some reason, Krillin feels the need to give Vegeta 2 senzu beans because he was beat so bad.
Yeah, well, he broke his arm and shit.
Yeah, that's true. I don't understand what the limits of one senzu bean are, so I have a hard time. I don't know. But anyway.
That's a good question. Like, if they just made a senzu bean paste, like 20 of them, and then fed that to Goku, would he be cool?
Yeah, just give him a senzu bean sandwich.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Again, we don't understand why they don't just seriously make a manufacturing plant and pump out these things.
Like concentrated senzu bean juice and just keep the water bottle on them at all times.
Yes, just have an IV attached to you permanently.
Yeah.
But
it's a little, instead of a nicotine patch, it's a sensu patch.
Yes, oh my God. But
constant. Right. Anyway.
Yeah, then it would break the show. So
then it would break the show. But we would save everybody.
So Vegeta gets really fucking pissed and
so
just
mad.
Fucks off. And this is why I wrote Piccolo is the best. Yeah, it's because Piccolo says, honestly, I think what the androids hurt worst was his pride.
Yeah, like, don't blame him. And I love that.
I love
that Vegeta gets pissed, says some stuff that's stupid, and then Piccolo, who is Vegeta's voice actor, says, hey, don't blame him.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. It's not his fault, okay? We all fucked up.
So Vegeta's pissed that he was beaten and just takes off after the androids again. Like, he's a broken record at this point. He has to prove himself.
Yeah.
I do like Krillin in this moment because he admits, like, hey, yeah, I got freaked out. I didn't step up to the plate, and you guys did, and like
owns up to his cowardice. And Piccolo says, look, it's all right. Even if there were all of us here, the same outcome would happen. Yeah. Like, I think that's why I wrote that. Piccolo is the voice of reason. He's the fatherish figure of the group now.
He's awesome. Like, he understands. He's a really good character.
And you know what? Since we're talking about voice actors, I don't know who Krillin's voice actor is, but I want to make mention that he does a fantastic job of portraying Krillin for what Krillin is at this moment. Conflicted, and then really imploring the androids, and then apologetic. Like, he's got fucking range with this weird, silly voice that he's using for Krillin.
It's amazing how
Krillin talks like this. And it's like, wow, like such range for a Mickey Mouse voice. Yeah. It's great.
He's got a lot of range. Like, Krillin feels the most human at times.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And it really is because the voice actor. If it was a bad voice actor playing Krillin, I don't think you would like him.
No,
I don't think anybody
so either. Like, his voice acting is honestly part of the appeal because it's so good. Like, he just sounds, really he's very relatable, and like, I can connect with him and I understand. Like, anyway, he nails it. There's a weird shot with Krillin. It shows his eyes. He usually doesn't have whites in his eyes. Like, that's a defining characteristic of Krillin. There's like a mistake in the animation for some reason where he has whites in his eyes.
I saw,
and it's really weird looking. It threw me off.
I also noticed there's a mistake in the fucking voice acting where they forgot to add in Krillin's voice actor's pop filter, which I know my pop filter is shit. So a lot of the times I say P's. For people who don't know what a pop filter is, when you're recording something, you have a microphone, you have a filter in front of it, a little piece of like thin fabric that stops consonants from sounding so harsh. So like P's don't push the mic and pop it and sounds ridiculously strong. The pop filter in this show, they are a professional outfit. I give myself a little bit of leeway, like, because we're making a podcast here and it's not professional. My pop filter used to be a freaking, what's it called? A coat hanger with pantyhose over it. So we get some leeway. This is a professional studio. They should not have these kinds of problems.
Yep.
I don't know why that happened. Anyway, okay. So they start talking about the fight and they go over how long it's going to take Goku to recover. Or am I skipping ahead? I am skipping ahead because I didn't write any notes for the Marin part, and that's what happens next.
Okay, so they come up with a plan to move Goku because the androids are after him and they know where he lives.
Yeah,
so
that's
if they can box him up and ship him off to Capsule Corp, then like at the very least, or sorry, not Capsule Corp, Roshi's house, then at least they'll buy some time. Piccolo gets mad, kind of out of nowhere, especially with how reasonable he's been in this scene so far.
That's right. Yeah, just out of nowhere, really pissed off.
Yeah, and he's like, you guys go get Goku. I'm going to go off and do my own thing. Don't ask any questions.
Then he shoots a big old blast in between everybody.
And just runs off and
so mad.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of like, hey, that's weird. Piccolo hasn't been this villainous since, back in the day when he was a villain.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who figures it out.
It's Krillin.
Oh, it's Krillin. It totally is Krillin. He's like, oh, Namekians confuse, and Kami, who's on Kami's lookout, used to be part of Piccolo as it is. So if they fuse, then Piccolo can't turn into a Super Saiyan, but he can turn into like a Super Namek.
Super Namek, that's right. And he says that's the way that. Here's my one problem that I have with this part, because I'm totally cool with Krillin being like very versatile in these couple of episodes. But here's my problem: Piccolo flies off in a direction.
Yeah, and Krillin's like, hey, don't you guys know what's in that direction?
Yeah, like
on the other side of the planet. I get it, but I thought it was kind of like, okay, he's not flying toward the androids, so he's not flying toward Goku's house. Where the hell else could he possibly be going? If he has a plan to help us and is not just running away. That also
means that like Krillin has perfect ass directional sense. Like he knows exactly which direction everybody's facing at this moment in time.
And what's wrong with that?
They just got done with a fight. It's just
he also,
it's not that bad. Like honestly, everything that happens in these episodes, I'll get a little pissed off at these things. Minus Marin, she's a fucking exception. Ow, I bit my tongue when I said that. That's how mad I am. I actually bit my tongue trying to say exception because I'm so mad about Marin. But everything else in these episodes, as it pertains to the actual Dragon Ball Z story, all the little decisions and things, it's all fine.
Yeah, like, it's nitpicky for sure, but
I have to nitpick to get angry about it because everything's really good.
It's really solid.
After watching all the rest of the shit, like this is really good.
Yeah,
it is. So they figure that out. That's where he's going.
Yep. And Krillin says like, "It's okay, Trunks. We know where you come from. We know, the Vegeta's your dad and all that stuff." He Sherlock's everything in this moment.
My note is, when did Krillin read the script?
Right, exactly.
He just knows everything.
And then it cuts to an awful scene. But in another way, it's the best scene.
You go for it, because my tongue hurts now.
All right. Marin and Roshi are watching soap operas, and there's a really fun shot where the soap opera cuts to a commercial and they talk. While they're talking, there's the background, you can still see the TV, and there's a guy selling like vegetables, like cabbage or something like that, and it's hilarious.
That's great. Yeah.
All of a sudden, on the beach appear an army of eligible bachelors, of dude bros, an army of dude bros. Like on the beach, they're just it's an amazing scene because it starts out with just like a couple guys surfing up, and then a couple guys in a boat, and then it like there's just more and more and more, and then it pans up and there's a bunch of them on parachutes, and they're like, "Hey, Marin, hey, how's it going?"
Parachutes and hang gliders and helicopters and just like hundreds of dudes.
Yeah.
So like, were they all watching the show? But no. Actually, Marin runs out, is like, "Oh, hey, Tony," and she's saying them by name. "Hey, Curtis. Hey, Francis." Like she's just saying their names. Master Roshi's like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And Marin turns around and says, "Oh, I called some of my boyfriends."
Some of them.
And Master Roshi's like, "Boyfriends?" And so she puts on her coat and gets her bag and hops into a boat, and then just leaves for the ultimate gangbang of all time.
Yep. And that's it.
That's
when Roshi says, that's probably the last we'll ever see of her. Good Lord, what an awful, awful character.
Yes.
Okay, so then it cuts to Yamcha and Chi-Chi taking care of Goku again. Goku is groaning and like yelling, and it's crazy to me that Sean Schemmel just had to come in for these 7 episodes and do nothing but like
That's right, yeah. Hello, this is Sean. Yeah, hey, we're going to need you to do some more groaning today. Really? I have to drive all the way out to the studio to groan? Yeah, for like 5 seconds. Can I just do that over the phone? No, you got to come over here where we have our shitty pop filters.
Yeah, we have better pop filters here, so... And then it cuts to Capsule Corp where Gohan and the others finally arrive. Mrs. Brief shows up to greet everyone and says, "Oh, Gohan, you should stay for cookies and cake." And Gohan is like tempted, even though back home his father's dying. But then he decides to do the right thing and go see his dad.
He fucks off fast. That's right.
It's like, cake and cookies would have been nice, but I have to go see my dad. I love that they have to tempt him with something to show character growth. But it's just hilarious. And then there's a weird scene. It basically cuts to Piccolo and Kami. Essentially, it just talks about Kami's backstory, like the birth of the Piccolo that we know. It shows Kami in his like old Piccolo form. And like it actually does. It's the old art style from Dragon Ball. Like it looks like a different character. Where, if you've seen Dragon Ball, when he fights King Piccolo looks very different than Piccolo did.
I made that note too, that the art in Dragon Ball is so very different. It has much curvier lines. The shots are much more flat. There's much less shading, much less attention to detail in the actual art itself.
Yeah.
And then there are scenes a little bit later on, and then, towards the end of the episode is back to regular. And it's really apparent, the contrast between that old art style and this new. It really feels like Toriyama, or maybe because it's not him penning the animation, it feels like maybe they tried to show maturity through the art. I don't know why I didn't realize this before, but I really am the artistic weird ass one of us three, between me and you and Eric.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to paying attention to that art stuff, I'm like, well, maybe I should talk about it because that's me. But yeah, it does show that old art. It's very curvy and thicker. It's more cute-ish almost.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure this is like half and half new footage that they drew and half flashback that they took from the Dragon Ball show itself. And I don't think the former Guardian of Earth stuff was in Dragon Ball, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, so it talks about how Kami used to have a dark side, used to be evil. Yeah. He wanted to take over as Guardian of the Earth, just kind of like Garlic Jr. did. And
which apparently that's just how you do it. You just go and ask.
Yeah, you just take over the Earth by asking for it. And the old Guardian of Earth is still that same like stupid, evil, shadowy, draped in cloak. Like I thought that was just his ghost form, but they don't even like bother to give him a character. It's so weird.
It's very odd. I don't know.
So that happens, and then old Piccolo fights in a tournament with Goku, and they talk about how Piccolo is like the Piccolo we know was born. It shows an extended flashback of Goku and Piccolo at the World's Martial Arts Tournament. Goku wins. King Piccolo.
Yeah.
Kid Goku wins the fight by punching a hole through King Piccolo's chest. And in the last moments of his life, he, according to Kami's voiceover, takes his essence and forms it into an egg and spits the egg halfway across the world, which resulted in the birth of Piccolo. So the King Piccolo is the evil side of Kami. They split off. Good Kami went to go be Guardian of Earth. Evil King Piccolo got beaten by Goku, and right when he died, gave birth to the Piccolo that we know. So that's like the whole everything. That's all of it. That's the whole backstory. In case you were wondering or had any questions, my only concern is that like Kami got super old, like way older than he should have been if he split off when Goku was like a baby at the very earliest.
Because it's only 20 years later. Maybe
it's not that far away.
Maybe Kami was about 50 at that age, and like Namekian do crack. So
yeah, sure. I guess that's like as much as you can know. You got to have some explanation because King Piccolo died and he was pretty young looking still.
Or maybe it's just the weight of the burden of being the Guardian of the Earth.
Sure. You could argue that. Like how most presidents like end up aging like 16 years. Yeah.
Yeah. What I don't understand is, so the evil in Kami's heart became King Piccolo.
Yes.
And then King Piccolo died and gave birth to the Piccolo we know. So that Piccolo then wants to merge with Kami. So it's not the same two.
Correct.
Namekians. So I guess I just don't understand how the merge works.
It's a really kind of wishy-washy, half-baked idea. It's definitely not fully baked, where
No,
King Piccolo put all of his essence, in quotes, into the egg. So like it's basically a clone. So it's
I guess
kind of the same, but they don't look the same or talk the same. Or
he's not, because he's not evil. So it's not just a straight, I don't know.
But everybody refers to him as if he's the old King Piccolo. Like the evil guy.
But he's not. He's a good ass motherfucker now.
Yeah. So, but we do know, to cover up the plot hole, that all Namekians can merge with each other. So it doesn't really matter.
We have that because there's a flashback to Piccolo merging with Nail.
Yeah.
And so
if he merges with Kami, he'll be a super Namek and he'll be able to take on the androids. He might even be more powerful than Goku and Vegeta.
That's right. And I do love their dynamic, how they're standing off. Piccolo says, "You have something I want, old man." And Kami says, "You still have a lot to learn, Piccolo." And it's just nice. It reminds me of some Star Wars-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Vader. That's what it reminds me of. I was trying to think of it the whole time. I was like, this is a Star Wars thing. I just don't know which one.
It's the most famous one.
It is. That and sand.
Yep. That's the best scene. So that's the end of the episode. And we go to episode 138. The Japanese title is Walking Weapons of Mass Destruction. The artificial humans draw near Goku. The American title is Closing In.
My title is Mad Max. So it picks up with the Kami Piccolo thing, and we get a little recap of Piccolo's victories and defeats. Again, Kami says he wants to let things play out first. Kami says, "I haven't agreed to anything, Piccolo. I don't want to merge quite yet. I haven't agreed to anything. I'm going to see how things play out. Things aren't always as they appear, Piccolo." And he's kind of right about that.
It's still super weird for the Guardian of Earth. I mean, I guess you would have intuition about this kind of stuff. But yeah, I guess Kami's just not as convinced as Piccolo that the androids are there to destroy everyone and everything. It's weird to look at it from an audience perspective, because yes, we have this new sort of look at what the androids are, but at the same time, we have seen a flashback or two of Trunks' future where those androids have just killed everyone and everything.
Everybody.
So there's like a weird latent certainty that this is going to end badly for everybody. But at the same time, we're seeing it through the eyes of this timeline where things are different, and the androids do seem to be a little bit different than we expected. So that I could see both sides of it, but it did strike me as odd that Kami wasn't like, protect the Earth.
Yeah, that's true. If there's one thing that we have had hammered in over and over, it's that the future that Trunks is from is different. Things are different now. They have changed. So we'll see if that plays into any of this. We cut to Tien, who...
Dude, it's super weird.
Fucks off from the group.
So the group decides to go to Goku's house and get Goku.
Which the group is just Trunks and Tien and Krillin now.
Yes, correct. Because they split up with Gohan, and Piccolo's obviously done his own thing, and Vegeta is also doing his own thing. So Tien, they're flying toward Goku's house to go get Goku, and Tien's like, hey, I'm going to take off and go train, and I'm going to go get Chaozu so that I can do that. But the weird thing is, they're planning on bringing Goku to Roshi's house, which is where Chaozu is right now. So why doesn't he just go... I don't know.
I don't try to understand Tien's things anymore. Like, he's such a wild card. Sometimes
he really is.
Got really great lines that are funny or pertinent, and then like he's never helpful in a fight until he was really helpful in a fight in the future. And then it's like I don't understand what his deal is. He really is just a wild card. And Chaozu is as important as War is, but Tien super cares about Chaozu. So I don't know. The whole thing is
anyway. Odd. So Tien leaves, and Trunks,
that's all.
That's all that matters. Trunks once again questions why this timeline is so different, and I do like that he's asking the question, because it reinforces the fact that that something is going on, that there's some kind of mystery that we're going to get into.
Changes are happening. Also, he says that the androids in this timeline are much stronger than the ones that he fought in his timeline.
Yeah, so how did that happen?
Because of course they are. Like that one, it was an eye roll for me. Like, of course they're fucking stronger.
Well, and that one I was wondering, like, is that a matter of perspective as well? Because he did say that the androids beat everybody pretty handily, which they did, and Trunks was a kid at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anyway, meanwhile, in freaking Alaska, the androids find a van The van is marked Lucky Foods Company.
Lucky Foods.
And the drivers are not so lucky that day.
Well, they didn't die.
It's true. There's a weird like music cue that happens during this scene that's like an electric banjo. It's so weird. It's so weird.
Yes, the musicians for all of these episodes, specifically this one and the last one, they got their monthly supply of coke in and just did the whole thing immediately. So they had 28 more days without it. But for the 2 days that they had it, were the last episode and this one, because it does the thing where it's an infinite set of bridges again, where it's just bridge, 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 funny song, weird song, hard song, funny song, serious song. Like, what the fuck? It's not bad. It's just so frenetic and like crazy. It's never bad. It's just, I don't know of any other show that switches gears that fast.
Yeah, it doesn't follow the classic rules.
No, it's so strange. It's so very odd. So yeah, they're floating and they steal a Lucky Foods delivery truck. They put there's a bunch of shit in the back. They tip it backwards and take all the shit
just
out.
Picks up the truck and tips it a little bit so the boxes fall out of the back. And then they get in and drive away. The drivers don't die. Surprisingly, the androids fail to murder again.
Which really, it just kind of like, and they have no contempt for humanity. That's really what I remember about them, is that they hated humankind.
Yeah, they were just super evil, like unstoppable, but they're
not like that at all.
It's so strange.
It is. I kind of love it. Actually.
It's amazing. Yeah, the development of these characters is like the best part of these episodes. Like it's intriguing. There's a mystery there. There's like questions. It throws you off the usual DBZ like expectations. Like it's really good.
Yes. Yeah. So we cut to Vegeta after they drive away, because that's what they're doing. They're just having fun driving.
The truck driver does say, one of the others says, "Now say something," and then the other one goes, "Something."
They were getting coffee. I don't know. Fuck them. So Vegeta's in an open plains, so fucking angry. He's just exploding things. Because I think, okay, so when everybody's born, you get dealt like a hand, right? You roll the dice, your genetics, whatever. And I think in his role, one of his cards says, "You must explode things or you die." So he's just exploding things. That's what he does.
The music is I love, Vegeta has the best music in the show. Like,
oh my God, easily.
Whenever they do music cues for Vegeta, I freaking love it. It's just great. So the best scene of this entire sequence of episodes happens next when they're androids 16, 17, and 18, maybe the most powerful people in the entire world at this point, are driving a food delivery truck van, and a biker gang comes upon them and wants to make a little trouble. The bikes are amazing. They are one-wheel hover bike things.
Well, there's a variety of different bikes.
Mad Max is perfect. They're like apocalyptic, futuristic bikers, and it's crazy. All the bikers have weird accents, and they just want to take down this frickin' van.
First, one of them drives up to the side and sees 18. He's like, "Hey, baby, you want to ride with us?" And that's when 17 is like, "Let's have some fun." In his like very dark, sinister, but also
the murder doll kind of voice.
Yeah, the murder doll way. Okay, did you write down what the bikers are called?
The Toe Warriors is
that's what I heard. Boys. Like TOE or TOW, and I'm not sure.
It's got to be TOW, but I heard TOE in my
I don't know. I don't know. And so then we get treated to a much better than this show deserves chase scene.
Like totally pointless, but also totally amazing.
Yeah.
Between this van and this biker gang.
It is on par with the entire Goku Gets a Driver's License episode for me.
Yeah, it's an amazing sequence. And it blows my mind. It blew my mind while I was watching this, honestly, because it's just so ridiculous that they're in a van. Yeah. They could easily just blast them, but they're in a van and they have this weird like scene where the bikers are after the van, and the van's like 17 swinging the wheel and plowing into the other bikes and throwing them off the road. There's one point where the van goes through a jump and just goes through like some kind of like Playboy bunny billboard.
That's right.
And just like clears right through it. And the van lands fine. There's a train coming on the road, and the van like skirts through just in time as the van. Or no, it doesn't drive on the train tracks, actually?
So it's driving on the train tracks towards the train.
The oncoming train, yeah.
The bikers are following them, and they're like, "Oh, shit!" So the bikers kind of run into the train and then careen off the tracks, and they see the truck just continues along. And it's not explained how the truck avoided the train at all.
But somehow it did.
It's so fucking fun. I don't know why this happened, but it's just fun. And it's all fun and games until one of them breaks the window when 17 is driving.
Yeah.
Or 17 is driving. And that's when they're like, all right, fuck these goons. And they stop the van, they get out, and they stand there just imposing. The bikers, they're thugs. And they're, and one of them gets a chain, swings it, and throws it at 17. 17 catches it. And they're like, oh, we'd kick your ass if the cops weren't coming. And then they run.
And then the cops show up.
Then the cops go to arrest the androids, which at first I was like, wow, these cops are grossly incompetent because the androids were actually the victims of the biker gang. But then I realized they stole it.
You should also have a clear picture of the cops, too, because they're not cops.
That's right.
They're like Wild West sheriffs with the hats and the badges and the music to match and the accent. Yeah, like it's crazy. The police like cuff the androids and they just kind of let them do it. As soon as the cuffs go on Android 16 just breaks them, like just shatters the metal easily. 18 says, pay attention because I'm only going to do this once. She picks up the cop car and just chucks it. And it's amazing. And so the police just like, there's a series of events where all of the androids get cuffed. They all break out. They all like escape from the cops and they don't kill them is the weird thing. They also don't kill these cops. And it cuts back to our heroes and Krillin actually does question, like he remembers the kiss and all the weird stuff that's been going on. And he actually has to question, are these androids actually as evil as Trunks says that they are?
And Trunks is like, yes, they're fucking murder machines.
Yeah, but I do like that he's being the diplomat. Like he's trying to figure out, what side everybody's on. And it's really weird.
Later on in the show, without any spoilers, Krillin makes a very questionable decision. And I remember at the time being like, this is the dumbest thing that's ever existed. But the show is doing a really good job of building up to that. That I was not anticipating.
Even in these slower episodes where not a lot of plot happens, you're still getting a lot of foreshadowing, a lot of human moments, a lot of like build up, like Trunks questioning the timeline, Krillin having these weird experiences with the androids, getting a view of like what they're really like when they're not fighting the Z Warriors. Like, what are they like on their own? And like, it's really interesting.
Comparing it to modern shows, because everything's just been condensed so heavily now. It's like distilled essence of whatever you're watching now, because Twitter and TikTok and everything has to be short and fast. And you have 5 seconds to sell somebody on a commercial before they hit the skip commercial thing on YouTube. So everything has to be really fast now. And that's what just everybody expects. Dragon Ball Z can get a little draggy, which is why I watch it at 1.2 speed.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps it so that I can understand what the people are saying. And then also it speeds up the pacing a little bit because I've just been conditioned to expect things in my face like as fast as possible now. So to be fair, yes, if you watch it just like plain, it can probably get a little draggy.
But it is setting, like it's using that time.
Right. Yeah. It's well paced. It's, again, what I was hoping for when we're like, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's watch the show.
So Krillin and the others arrive at Goku's house. Chi-Chi's so excited that she thinks Gohan's there that she just like slams open the door and beans Krillin so much that he gets like a welt on his head, which is great. Gohan gets there and they drag Goku out. It's weird to see him barefoot. I don't know why that struck me as odd, but Goku's not wearing any shoes, which makes sense. But it's just
like that, though, right?
I don't think I've ever seen. I guess in Dragon Ball, some of the flashback stuff, like it shows. Yeah.
But that's true. He's always got them shoes on now. Apparently, we're becoming the podcast where we notice where people don't have shoes.
Yeah, I guess that's just, you know what? Accept your identity and move forward.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they pile Goku plus bed into a capsule cork vehicle and start to evacuate him over to Kami Island. And the narrator kicks on because if that cliffhanger wasn't enough for you, don't worry, because apparently Bulma's about to get a phone call that's going to change everything.
So says the narrator, which
literally shows Bulma like putting Trunks to bed, and then the phone rings, and then the episode ends.
And here we are, last episode of the entire saga.
Yeah, episode 139. The Japanese title is An Ominous Foreboding. Bulma unveils a mystery. And the American title is Unwelcome Discovery. Cards on the Table. I don't know why that's the title, because it doesn't happen until like the very end, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever. My episode title is Everyone Has Fucking PTSD in this show. Everyone. Everybody.
The episode starts with a nice moment of Chaozu cooking for Turtle and Roshi. He wears a tiny apron that says cook on it, which is great. Tien arrives to grab him, and Tien does not want to talk about anything that just happened.
He's very stoic.
Like, he's just grabbing Chaozu and he's going to go train. And Roshi and the others are like, hey, tell us what happened. Come on, what happened? And he just won't. He said, everybody will be here later. They can explain it. And he just leaves.
Yeah, Tien's had a bad time.
Bad time, which is weird because he really didn't. I mean, I guess he got his ass kicked, but he didn't have like a seminal ass kicking moment. Like,
right. Like, how's that different from every other ass kicking that he's gotten?
Exactly.
Like, okay, now that I'm thinking about it, part of me is starting to understand Tien's struggle because all he wanted to do was fight Goku. And now Goku's so fucking out of reach. And he keeps trying to help, but he's just never good enough. He's like Yamcha level now. And so he's just trying to cope with being a tertiary character now. Okay. Like moving from secondary to tertiary.
Yeah.
To where like I'm more excited to talk about Yajirobe or Dr. fucking Briefs than Tien. And I think that's what this is. It's like almost a fourth wallish moment.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
He's realizing that he's come down a tier.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. And so he's very stoic anyway when he's talking to them.
He is. It cuts to the gang flying toward Roshi's island on their Capsule Corp ship. Inside the ship, actually, I love this scene. They're talking about time travel.
Yeah. They shore up some of the damage that introducing time travel has
which is
caused.
Great. They actually have a moment to actually talk about it instead of just being like, just have fun. Which is also fine, but I appreciate that they're trying at least. They talk about, first of all, Chi-Chi freaks out because Gohan's not studying every waking moment. So she pulls out like some books and stuff out of the luggage that she packed and makes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's actually the background gags are pretty good in this scene.
So good. It's so good. So they're having the conversation about the time travel thing. And Trunks is thinking like, well, maybe I could just go back before Dr. Gero made the androids and kill him. And Krillin's like, well, wouldn't that mess with the timeline? You said that everything's changing.
Yeah.
And you also said you don't have enough fuel to go back, which he never said that to Krillin. He said that to himself flying to the fight. Seriously, Krillin
You don't know what they talk about, but you're not wrong.
Anyway.
Krillin has the script and he's not telling anybody about it.
Yeah, he's just like deaking in his back pocket. He's like, what happens next? Oh, I get to finally. Oh, yeah. But anyway, so Gohan is trying to add to the conversation, like turns his head. He's like, hey, yeah, and also different timelines. But how could you have made such a critical error? And then Chi-Chi grabs his head and is like, homework, bitch.
Puts it towards the book. I love that he's trying to like talk about temporal physics.
Yeah.
And Chi-Chi, that's not good enough. He has to be studying what she wants him to be studying, not some other intellectual crap that he's never going to use.
The animal revolution. Damn it.
Instead of the frickin' physics of the entire universe and the scientific marvel that's sitting in front of you. So this is what it boils down to, essentially. Trunks thinks that he can go back in time and stop the androids from even being created in the first place. Good idea, except for the fact that when he goes home to a world in which he had never gone back in time. So the world's still destroyed. Goku still died. The androids still killed everybody that we know. It's not that he's going into the future of the timeline that we're seeing now. He's actually going a return trip back to exactly where he came from. So if he goes back in time again and stops the android from being created, that's all well and good for that timeline. But the timeline with the Krillin that we all know and love and the Chi-Chi that's making Gohan study right now, their struggles would still exist. So so Trunks can only, like, if he wants to help his dad and everybody he's met in this timeline, he can't screw with the past anymore. Otherwise, he'll find himself in another timeline.
This is where they actually call it a parallel timeline.
Dude, I love Krillin's quote. What does he say? He just so nonchalantly, he's like, boy, that sounds like some kind of parallel universe or something.
But that's exactly what it is. And so they explain that that's how this is happening. That's why if Trunks goes back to his future, it's still going to be fucked up no matter what happens here. It also explains that they didn't really know when they sent Trunks back in the past, that's how it was going to go down.
Yep.
Because Trunks didn't come up with this plan. Future Bulma did.
Yep.
So Future Bulma's idea was that by going into the past, it was going to be able to resolve all these issues. Maybe not necessarily in theirs. Like she knew that it was a possibility that he would go to a parallel timeline, but there was kind of the hope that it would resolve a lot of the problems, that it would fix the future.
And the whole thing is, well, it's twofold. after Trunks found this out, the reason he stayed to help out everybody here is because he just wants to save one world. Like,
That's right.
It shows a flashback of all the damage that the androids caused and all that. And he's like, well, if I can prevent this, it's super like dystopian and scary and like,
yeah, that's where in Trunks is having this flashback. He's just standing, like there's the ship that they're on has these two big observation bubble things. And he's standing in one of them looking down at like a father and daughter fishing and just whatever, just life.
Just life.
And that's when he flashes back to his awful future, where in the future, apparently the sky is just a permanent orange dystopian color. And there's all these people in a ruined, it looks like a car park, and they're just trying to survive. And it's awful. It looks bad there.
Yep. And all he wants to do is save one world. So he has a chance to save this one. Also, if they can defeat the androids and discover a weakness, he can take that information back to his destroyed world and defeat the androids once and for all in his world as well.
After all this conversation, Chi-Chi says the most pertinent thing possible, which is, well, if you hadn't come back when you did, Goku would be dead right now. And that's all that really matters.
I guess she's kind of been expressing it all along, even though she's kind of been in a crazed state. But she has like one moment of like lucidity where she says, you know, essentially, thank you. Like she's an actually grateful, actual character instead of just a yelly study of obsessed mother. Yeah.
Instead of a mother with manic depressive disorder where it's 99% mania.
It's a good moment.
Everybody needs a fucking therapist in this show.
Dude, seriously, like there's like Trunks has PTSD. He remembers during this whole thing, like there's a POV shot of the battle he had with androids. Like it's really cool. Like you totally like he's remembering. So you see everything from his point of view. He gets knocked down. It's really, really awesome. And so they have this all like this heart to heart. And to cap it all off, Krillin says, "Don't worry, Trunks. We're all safe now, thanks to me." And then he says, "Lighten up, Trunks. I was just kidding."
Yeah, his joke like falls totally flat. Like every bit of humor that people try on Trunks is not going to work.
It just doesn't work. He's too serious.
He's seen some fucking shit. Yeah. So it's just not. And they try. At least they try. So give them credit for that. And then we get to see one of the most confusing and brutal things that we've seen in the show, which is
my God,
Goku is having a nightmare during his fever while he's knocked the fuck out. He's having another nightmare where he sees androids 17 and 18 and they come into his home when he's in the bed. He tries to get up and stop them, but he like phases through them. He like can't actually hit them, can't interact with anything.
Yeah, he's powerless to stop it. And when he looks back at the bed that he was in, Goku's still in that bed.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So he's having an out-of-body experienced dream kind of thing. Gohan and Krillin step up. We're going to stop you. And the androids just kill them. They kill them. And you see Krillin hit the ground and his head turn in a death.
So like, it's brutal.
And then Chi-Chi comes up and Android 18 snaps her fucking neck like 180 degrees backwards.
You see it too. Like it doesn't cut away. It's awful.
It's intense. And then at the very end, Android 17 walks up to Goku and he pulls out one hand and it's got the shine like a sword would. And he plunges it through Goku's stomach. And then Goku screams out in the real world, clutching like his stomach.
There's a lot of like little plot holes in that sequence, but like Goku's worried about losing everybody that he loves and being unable to stop it.
And they give him more medicine, which seriously, I hope you can't OD on that stuff.
Yeah,
they give it to him like 6 times in the last set of episodes. Then we cut to Vegeta. It's just staring up into the sky while it's raining.
It's a weirdly like almost symbolic shot where he's in the rain and
18's voice is just playing in his head
like
over and over and over.
Yeah, he's recovering from the defeat. And then is this where he's like, no, I will stop them. And the clouds part above him. And this there's like this storm raging all around him, but the clouds part when he comes to that realization.
He comes to the realization that there must be, from what I understand, the Super Saiyans of legend were undefeatable warriors. They never would have done this. They never would have suffered, but there must be a plateau. And that's where the clouds open up. He's like, yes, there's a higher level of power that I must achieve. Like, he turns around so fast on his own self-perpetuating hype train. I love it.
He also has PTSD and he needs to think that he is not at fault. Like he is not imperfect. That he's just not at full power yet.
Yeah, that's the only way that he can keep going is that he still has room to improve even though he's the best.
Yeah. So it's so like there's a lot of rationalization going on here.
It's so fantastic.
Yeah.
I love this fucking show, Spencer.
It's so good. So cut back to the Capsule Corp ship. Krillin calls Bulma. I think it's just to say, hey, we're moving Goku and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Krillin gets the Capsule Corp customer service line and he's like, well, I want to talk to the CEO's daughter, please. And the customer service line is just like, okay, hold please.
Yeah.
And then he gets hold music, which is amazing. Bulma answers, and I'm trying to remember now if like Krillin is calling Bulma back. Like Bulma did not try to communicate this information prior to this phone call.
They're calling to tell her where they're bringing Goku.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, like Bulma's out of nowhere. She's just like, hey, I got a call earlier. Is Trunks there? I got something to tell him.
That's right. She's just getting done putting young baby Trunks to bed.
Yeah.
I noticed she's drinking a glass of wine, which I hope she's not breastfeeding, because it's not okay.
Let's say she's not.
Let's say she's
or
not.
That it's not wine.
Yeah, it's apple
She just
juice.
wants to remember the feeling of having the wine glass in her hands.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
She's proven to be a pretty. I'm just fucking around. She's always concerned about her kid. So she says, "Is Trunks there? I need to talk to Trunks." And so Krillin puts her on speaker.
Yes.
And Bulma reveals, I got a call from somebody that said that they found a Capsule Corp ship and he wanted to fly it, but he couldn't figure out how. So he sent over a picture and it's your time machine, Trunks. And Trunks is like, what? No, I put that shit away. Look, it's right here in the capsule. She says, yeah, but it is. I have a picture of it. Look, I'll fax it over to you.
Which is just amazing. So she faxes a picture of the time machine over to him and Trunks looks at the picture and yeah, it's an overgrown, very old looking version of the same time machine that we saw him use, episodes and episodes ago when he first went home. There's only one time machine that was ever built. He's got it in his pocket. So where did this time machine come from if it's the same one? There must be some very strange time travel shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
And we'll find out exactly what they are next time on Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z. Thanks for listening to Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z. Actually, next time is either going to be a fan mail episode or an Eric Hates review episode, depending on his schedule. He's out of town for the next couple weeks, so if we can't get him to sit down and record, we'll do another fan mail or vice versa. So look forward to those couple episodes coming up in the next few weeks. If you want to contact us or get in touch, like I said, we're going to do a fan mail episode soon, so now would be an awesome time to do so. You can send us the email at mail, M-A-I-L, at ehdbz.com. You can contact us on Twitter using the handle at Eric Hates DBZ. We love your feedback and hope you write in and let us know what you think about the podcast.
Yeah, tell us how you felt about that April Fool's episode that we put together in like an hour. And tell us how you never want to hear any of that shit again.
Or we're going to do it again.
Or else we'll do it for every episode. The music in the podcast is done by me. I'm John Good. You can find me on Burn7 or on SoundCloud under the name Burn7. Eric Hates Dragon Ball Z is part of the Rocktopus Network of podcasts. For more entertainment from our team, check out Tales of Nowhere. It's a tabletop RPG podcast where we take one cast of characters from multiple games and rule sets, tell one epic story. We're in season 2. Season 1 is all there. You can binge it. It's great. Spencer's the DM. He's doing a great job. Pun. I think that, right? That's it. Just pun time.
Pun. Why was 16 afraid of 18?
That's a joke. That's not a pun. I don't know why.
Because he's scared of girls.
I don't get that one. I'm sorry. I don't.
Why does 16 love 18?
Because it's legal. She's legal.
Because she's a pretty fine bird.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. No, that's a little bit better. But these are not puns. These are jokes.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, I'm buying what you're selling.
That's not acceptable yet.
Fuck!
Nobody knows. I can't really think of a pun right now, so maybe next time we'll have a better one. For now, I'm just going to kind of let it sit, let it marinate a little bit.
Oh, fuck.